everyone, welcome back to Enforcer and the Dude. Welcome to our regular fans, and for our first time race fans that have just tuned into this program, I'm Russell Wingle, Paul Morris, Enforcer and the Dude. We're a couple of old school racers that know a thing or two, or we think we know a thing or two, about motor racing and motorsport. So stick around for the next hour or so, and hopefully you're going to learn a little bit more about motorsport and motoring, because, mate, there's been plenty going on in the land of motorsport around the world, hasn't there, dude?
Well, mate, it's been great. And firstly, I'm going to congratulate you, Russ.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Back in the saddle, first race,
Yes.
The XL Enduro at Sydney Motorsport Park under lights,
Yep.
and you and Brock Feeney take out the win.
It was good, yeah. Firstly, the wild card. Look, mate, it wasn't expected.
What about the XL race, mate?
Huh?
Weren't you excited about the win?
It was.
I thought you would have bought the trophy in.
Yeah, it was. It was nice. It was, mate. It's always, you know what it's like, dude. No matter what, it's hard to get out of the blood being competitive, getting back behind the wheel.
Yeah.
I see every time you jump in that stadium truck or jump in anything, your eyes light up and go, yeah. It's
good.
Memories flood back. And yeah, but there was a huge announcement. Huge announcement from my side of things. And for Brock Feeney as well, with Super Cheap Auto announcing the wildcard entry, which I think blindsided most people, including me. So don't worry about that. It is left field. It created a bit of media along the game. It did.
Well, you know what that tells me? You haven't raced for full time for 8 years?
Yeah, pretty well.
How boring are the current drivers? If they've got if you're the headline.
They're going to love that. They're going to love you, dude. Oh, look, I think, and we say it all along, yes, there's a lot of new people and new kids that are coming up, you know, following motorsport in general, and supercars as well. But also you can never forget there's a lot of old hardcore race fans that follow the sport as well. And I think they really came out in force, and, you know, someone that they obviously recognised, along with an up-and-comer. I mean, we've got both ends of the spectrum covered, because we've got the up-and-comer with Brock Feeney, great talent. And it's so good. My history with the Feeney family goes back many generations.
Oh, you were happy, mate. You used to get those free motorbikes
Free
out of
motorbikes.
Feen. You'd love that, didn't you?
Yeah, well, Paul Feeney, who was a bloody good motorbike rider, as you know, in his time. And we met through Barry Sheen. He was one of Barry Sheen's best mates.
Yep.
And that's how we got the link. And he used to be a personal sponsor of mine. Used to give me trail bikes and
Free
road
motorbikes,
bikes.
yeah.
Free bikes.
Well, you like free.
We like the F word, mate. We like the F word, free. Don't worry about that. It was cool. So I've known the family for years, and Brock was, just in nappies all the way up, and now, man, and he's again comes out of the Norwell school of races. He's a good talent, but it was just cool. But when I got the call up, and firstly it was Roland Dane that actually, to take you through the journey a little bit, it was Roland Dane that actually called me up. I thought it was an April Fool's joke. I said, well, you know what Roland's like. Like he's a low unit when he comes to like having a joke, so he doesn't mind how far he wants to take you down. And I thought, bugger off, Roland. You pull on my leg. He said, no, I'm serious. He said, are you interested? I said, hang on, this is a pretty big deal, So we spoke about it. Anyway, 2 or 3 phone calls later, it wasn't an instant, yes, I can give you the strong tip. So once I got my head around it and said, okay, and I spoke to Brock about it, and we gone, and I spoke to you about it. And you were one of the biggest advocates for it, and I'm sure behind the scenes you stuck my name up onto the list.
Yeah, you were on the list, and out of all the people, I know your work ethic, Russ. I think that once you get your head around something, you'd get yourself into gear and do it. And there's one track where experience counts, and one race where experience counts is Bathurst for me. It's not what you're going to do when you get there. It's what you won't do, which is a co-driver's role.
Yep. You know that only too well.
Yeah.
Because and it's a lot of things. I mean, you told me a lot of things about when you won the race with Chaz.
Yeah.
You know, of all the things that people don't know, things you picked up along the way that might have parked up that car.
Yeah.
You know, you kept the thing running, you kept it going, and that is an important thing. And that's my role about it. I'm under no illusions, and I'm not going up there to set the world on fire with lap times or whatever. I know what I have to achieve. I know what lap time I have to set. I know what my role is. Brock's bloody fast over one lap. Man, he's one of the most impressive drivers I've seen in a long time over a timed lap. Like, he can just get in and punch out a number. So, I mean, if we qualify the thing up there, my job's just to keep it there. Bring it home,
And
mate.
anything can happen up there, but
For sure. You know, rain. You know, I still like the wet weather and
rain. Yeah,
but so it's exciting. It's a little bit nerve wracking, but I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking back. We're going to have plenty of test days in between as well, so it'll be great going back up there. I'll be doing plenty of laps, jumping anything I can, including the XL race, which I loved, and. Do as much as I can to get my eye back in, but you know, I've got to get physically fit, and that's going to be the biggest challenge. Shane Van Gisbergen actually said to me, he said, out of the biggest challenges out of everything you experience, it'll be the physical side of it. So he said the pace is so fast now that the concentration level and how physical it is inside the car, because you're on the edge the whole time and watching the last Bathurst. Man, I can see that.
That was quality laps at the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, mate, and you can see everything was like this. And when you
Had to
concentrate
change gear
so hard,
as well.
when you're changing gears, it'd be a lot easier if I had paddle shifter. Can we bring in paddle shifter before the end of the year?
Blokes like us would never retire.
It'd make my job a lot easier. So there's a lot of things I've got to get used to and get back into the rhythm of. And the good thing about it, dude, is we're going to be each show. We're going to put a little segment in. We've got to come up for a name for it. So if any of our fans out there have got an idea,
kick it to the fans.
Yeah, give us, you know, like the road to Bathurst has been done, but I don't know, Rusty's Road back or
fans,
something.
Mate.
Yeah. Come up with a bit of a tag that we'll use on the show, and we're going to do, you know, sort of a little segment of what I've been doing to get back up to speed. You know, training here at Norwell, the test days, behind the scenes at the test days that we'll be doing out at Ipswich Raceway with Triple Eight. That'll be pretty cool. You know, see what happens on a test day, you know, what you're trying to achieve and all that sort of thing. So we'll have, that's a good thing about this project, is we'll have a behind the scenes view of it all.
I think it's good. And just to see, for me, it'd be what your lifestyle was as a retired racing driver and what you've got to change in your everyday life to get back to that level, because it's a big commitment for one race.
Oh, massive. And that's what I said to Roland. I said, mate, if you were asking me to do this next month, I would have said no, because I'm not mentally and physically prepared for it. But now I've got 6 months to prepare for it. I'm going, okay, right.
You can turn yourself into a selfish prick again.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's what Jim Richards always used to say. He said motor racing is probably one of the selfish sports that you'd ever be into, because you're right, it's all about me. Yeah, it has to be. So yes, it's a really good point. But yeah, so we'll take you along the journey with us as well, and we'll have access to things as well. Like I said, we'll dig around, and I'll take a camera with me up to Triple Eight, and we'll have a kick around their workshop when Roland's not around and see what we can find that you haven't seen before.
That'd be good.
Pinch a bit of gear along the way too. So should be a few freebies up there, shouldn't they? But it'll be good. So yeah, looking forward to it. It was great. Massive coup by Supercheap as well. they definitely blindsided a few people along the way, and they're good at that.
It rolled that out. So yeah, they're good on the marketing side for them. They're still a bit sore from losing that race to Repco, and then if you Supercheap have done a good job of staying engaged with that fan base, haven't they? So
well, mate, they're into motor racing, aren't they?
Yeah.
The company has never detoured for the decades that they've been in the sport. And they have been in it for decades. People seem to forget that.
That's
right. You go back to Stephen Ellery.
Yeah, and Bob Thorne.
Bob Thorne, you know, and you know, they've had a big tradition. So they haven't gone away. Sponsors have gone away and then come back again in motorsport. Supercheap have really
part of their DNA.
I couldn't agree more. So it's great they're doing this. Great to be part of it, and of course they're a main sponsor of the show. So it's ticking every box.
Good for us,
mate. Right, let's get into it. Let's have a quick review, because we're going to get into some Gen 3 discussion. And
it's had some questions about that, haven't we?
Oh, a massive amount, haven't we?
Yeah.
You've seen them all, haven't you?
Yeah.
All the questions about it?
I get it every time I walk down the street or at a race meeting. There's people just bombarding you with questions. So
which isn't a good thing, because if the punters don't know what's happening, then they haven't been getting the information out very good, aren't they? They're coming to us for the information. So we're going to give it to you, and you know, pull the gloves on. We're going to have a bit of a go.
Okay.
You know? So this is we're going to tear it apart and give our opinion on it with Gen 3 as well. So, but before that, there has been other motor racing going on around the place. You brought it up a bit earlier before we started the cameras rolling with MotoGP, Jack Miller.
Yeah, got that win.
Good.
And remember, we spoke about he had arm pump in his last race and he faded. So he had an operation on that, got it fixed, come out, wins the next GP, and Quartararo has arm pump and loses the GP. So imagine going through your motor racing life just relying on the doctors keeping you on the bike.
Yeah.
Like
It shows you how physical the things are, though, isn't it? I mean, I've had, you know, I'm not comparing myself by any means, but I've been on trail bikes where we've been on like 100, 120k trail bike ride. Yeah, and it's man, you can't close your fingers. Like, it's a really weird thing. I've had in go-kart racing. I used to get it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, because go-karts are pretty heavy in the steering. It's a mongrel thing. But yeah, when I was watching that race, I thought, where's Quartararo going? Because must have been a tyre.
Well, we thought Jack was tired when we watched the race, but
Yeah,
it's just this arm pump thing. So
Good on him, good ride.
it's a good ride, and it's exciting to have an Australian like up there.
Yeah.
You can fall asleep watching the Formula One, but I never fall asleep watching a MotoGP race.
I not too many F1 races I've actually made it through where I've had a bit of a nanny nap. MotoGP is so good. Speaking on keep on the Jacks.
Yeah.
Jack Doohan.
Yeah, podium for Jack Doohan.
Yeah. That's in the Gun Series too, by the way, guys.
Yeah. So this is the series, the FIF3, which he did last year. He's changed teams this year to a better team and qualified second. And they've got a goofy system how they race there. So you qualify, then they reverse the qualifying order for the first race, top 12.
Yep.
So he would have started out of 11th.
Yep.
Had a really bad start. Something went wrong with the clutch. He went back to 17th, and that's where he stayed for the first race. Then he started the second race 17th and raced his way back up to 8th. And then the feature race he started second. Had a few kamikazes around him, you know, which he managed really well. Like I really like the way he managed that first corner. That could have been entangled wheels and out of the race, and then passed those guys and got back up to second. So, yeah, good pace, but his racing brain's engaged as well. You could just see glimpses of Mick there thinking about what was going on. So, exciting to see what Jack's going to do for sure.
Oh, Mick would be absolutely wrapped with that because, you know, he had a tough year because it is tough because when you go to he'd raced F3 before, but when you go to F3 in Europe, some of those European tracks are daunting. Like it takes a bit to get your head around. So he's again learning a team, car, and circuits. That was a big ask. So it's great that he's going in for a second year, and we saw when we did that interview with him last year. You know, he's pretty handy in a go-kart, but he had that. Yeah, well, had that mentality of.
And we had a sportsman's lunch, we call it, round at Mick's house. I think Fiend was there and Roland and all that when Jack was there.
Sportsman's lunch. Yeah.
And we got talking about.
You mean a piss up?
Roland being Roland put the heat on him. He said, "Well, what are you going to change this season to what you did last season?" Yeah. And Jack had a list of about 30 things that he needed to do better. That just rolled off his tongue, and we both walked out going, "Geez, that kid's on it."
Really?
He was pretty prepared. So. He's under no illusions what he's got to do.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now supercars, Tarlin Bend.
Yeah.
It was on the weekend, or last weekend, and it was good to see Andre Heimgartner, have a win. I've always sort of rated him. You know, he's another one of that New Zealand bunch with Shane Van Gisbergen and Scott McLaughlin that sort of. It was on the knife edge. It was almost there, but not quite. Almost ended up in the skip bin of drivers, but almost was going to give it away. And he's come back and hung it in there, and he's finally got a car under him.
A car and team, Russ. So if you look at Andre, I had a fair bit to do with him in his younger years and went and raced in New Zealand with him. But yeah, he's one of those New Zealand drivers. I think he won the Formula Ford Championship over there when he was 15. They start earlier. the big key to Andre is Todd Kelly. So Todd's gone, I'm getting out of the seat. I want to concentrate on what he likes to do, which is do his engines and do all that stuff. And he headhunted Andre to take that position. And the other thing I think that's made a big difference to that team is the Groves coming in.
Okay.
So that's, they will change the culture in that team to be successful, and that'll allow Todd to do what he likes to do. He's a technical guy. He's happiest when he's mucking around with his engine and getting the car right and working with the drivers, and leave the commercial side and the structural side of running that business to the Groves, which they're very successful at. So it's a good match.
As you know, running a race team's hard work, and if you're trying to burn both ends of the candle, it's hard, because it's hard enough being in the workshop, but actually being back in the boardroom as well and trying to keep sponsors happy, and it's too much. And you're right, and the Groves are obviously very successful in business, so they're probably.
But they're racers too. They've always raced.
True. Yeah.
So they know they know both sides of the amateur races, but they know it.
Yeah.
And very good drivers themselves.
So it's obviously working, and I mean it's good to see. It's good to see another team and another driver up there winning. The racing in general, I thought, and we'll get into this in the Gen 3, it's good that it's seen different circuits has been working better for, say, the Commodore, been working a bit better for the Mustang.
Aero-dependent circuits, the Mustang seems to be a bit better.
Even though it's still fairly split. In all three races, you looked at it, it was pretty well half and half, within 50% of both the makes, which I think was good results. If you got a mixture in the top 10, it just wasn't all Mustangs or all Commodores.
Even spread.
Even spread, but obviously the winning ones were all the Mustang. But I think the parity looks really good, and again, we'll get into this in Gen 3, but it's a shame to throw all that in the bin, because at the moment it looks pretty even. Racing was pretty good. At least there was a few elbows getting thrown out.
Yeah, I like that. There's a bit of aggression.
There's a bit of. Some of the drivers still having a bit of a whinge about it.
About what?
Oh, I bet some of that. Yeah, I saw one of the starts where I think Chaz and Slady and that all got together, and to be quite honest, it was a bit of a nothing burger. It was just one of those deals, but they're all having a little bit of a whinge about the Dodgem car thing, just cop it.
They've been following each other that long, they've forgotten how to fight for their bit of territory. So.
True.
Watch one of those European races.
Oh.
Mate, no, it's a lot more physical. So
and you don't see them coming in and blowing up. Like just you got to cop it. And this is what I'm hoping, that as drivers get a bit more desperate, a bit more of that will come into it, because that's what it needs. There's not enough desperation in the field. Yeah. To go forward. Everyone seems to be especially over the last year or so, too worried about finishing. I just want to finish. I'm too scared about having to go because I want to bring it home. Sometimes you got to have a dip, eh? If you trail it, you trail it.
That comes back to the pit lane order, because the pit lane order is decided by the teams championship. So a lot of the teams are just focused on where they finish, so they can get the pit lane order.
Just to get points.
Yeah, so they can get preferred pit allocation. So
yeah.
That's another thing that needs to be looked at. Like, it should go on your qualifying order or the finishing order of the last race or something.
Don't put so much emphasis on that. Yeah. Take away or give you more incentive to make positions as well, maybe.
Passing points. But you're right. The racing was.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. The weather played a part in it.
Yeah.
Still hard to pass.
It was.
Like one thing I look at people race in that race meeting, right?
Yep.
And there's drivers just following cars. They're in the same wheel tracks, and I can't pass anyone. Then you look at Shane, and he's like, just gets the nose out so he gets a bit of wind over. He positions his car so he can still get some downforce on the thing. He's using different parts of the track. He's thinking. He's tried everything he can, and he's on fresher tyres, but he still couldn't make the move.
Super, yeah.
So.
Yeah, and we've said, I don't know how many times we've said it on this show about the aero side of it. One of the easiest and cheapest things they could do is to shave 50% of the aero off those things.
Yeah, do it now.
It'd be so easy. You could do it now. It'd be so easy to do. And the wet is always a good gauge for that too, because indirectly the wet is reducing downforce, isn't it? you
Well, you've
reduce
lost
grip.
grip.
You
Yeah.
lost grip,
Yeah.
especially on the wet that they're on,
Yeah.
which is
Hard.
average sort of hard wet as well. So there's your gauge. Every time it's wet, you get the best racing. So how do you achieve that in the dry? You cut 50% of the air off.
Gotcha.
It's so simple and easy and cheap, and why they keep screwing around not doing it, it's beyond me. But anyway, yeah, that's life. They're cool, but very easy to do. Right, are you ready?
Yep.
Going to this Gen 3 land,
Right.
and it's been brought on by all these, isn't it? All the questions we've been
All
getting.
the questions about it from the fans, yeah. So it pops up in the fan comments. Every third question's about Gen 3.
Yes.
What's it going to be like?
Yeah.
Why can't they just use TA2 cars? Why didn't they use an AS car? Why is it? What's the engine going to be
Yep,
like?
yep.
So there's the engaged fans want to know what's going on.
And we got guys, here they are, just pages of it, and a lot of them is about Gen 3. So that's why we're going to be dedicating a fair bit of the show to Gen 3. Is because of that reason. You guys have been asking for it. Obviously, you're not getting the information through Supercars or any other organisation. You trust us enough to ask us for our opinion, so we're going to give it to you. So for all those people that thrown in the questions,
Here we go.
Here we go. Lock and load, pull the trigger, no holds barred. And I like to point out also there is, at the time of filming of this show, there is actually a meeting going on between team owners, supercar representatives, about the direction of Gen 3. There's been a lot of talk about it, about that according to inside sources, a lot of the team owners want to put it off another year and not push to try and get the Gen 3 or rush it through for next year.
Well, there was actually a document circulated and tabled at the board before the last board meeting that had signatures of most of the team owners. So I think that's why the crisis meeting's been called.
Okay, so like I said, this has been filmed before that. That doesn't alter our opinion. So whatever comes out when you see the show, whatever they've decided, if it aligns with what we're talking about now, we look like heroes. If not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't change our opinion. This is our opinion on what we think the direction of Gen 3, if we had some sort of involvement in it ourselves. So that's the best way we can put it and do it. So, right, dude. So so out of the whole Gen 3 thing, number one is, let's address the timing. Would you put it off? I know I would. Your opinion, would you put it off another year?
I definitely would, because what do you got, 6 months before you got to have yourself ready?
Less.
And all we know about the car at the moment is there's a chassis and there's a steering wheel.
Right.
And I'm in the know and I'm sniffing around and I can't get answers.
Yep.
And when I talk to team owners, I can't get answers. So from what I know at the moment, you'd have to put it off. So until more information comes into play in the next couple of weeks, that's where I sit.
Right. So that's basically what we got.
Yeah.
We've got, and that's a 888 built chassis. So you can see the removable clip on the front.
Yep.
Of the chassis, which is the shiny non-finished part, which will unbolt off. So if you crash the thing, you can pull the front off, put a new clip on. It's a little bit debatable on.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Do you reckon that's a good idea?
Yeah, unbolt it, bolt it on, bolt it off. But that's like in a big crash, that's not the thing that bends anyway. It's the other tubes going back further is normally the ones that bend. But that's fine, mate. You've got to start with something.
Is that going to be the issue though? If you bend any tubes behind that, you're not going to be able to bolt your front clip on, are you?
No.
Or your rear clip?
No.
So what do? Just park her up?
Oh, I don't know. Let's go back to the start why we wanted Gen 3.
Yep.
We wanted a cheaper car,
Yep.
right? The target price was 350 grand, I think. And
Right.
the reason we wanted a cheaper car is because the teams could have more of them and they could race harder. They were easier to repair. So first of all, I don't think that car's hit that target.
Not looking at that chassis. That chassis doesn't look any less to
And
build
looking
than
at
the current one.
all the equipment they're bolting into the car's not going to be cheaper.
Okay.
So that's their first alarm bell that all the other teams would go, hang on, I thought this was meant to be cheaper. And we've had Roland on the show, and I think we had him at the end of last year, and he said, "Oh, it mightn't be cheaper, but it'll be cheaper to run."
Correct. Yeah, because that's what I had to go at him about.
Yeah.
I said the car's no cheaper.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be cheaper. Well, yeah, but
The cost per kilometre should be down.
Yeah.
The only way I see them achieving that is through, it's got the same engine, it's got the same transmission, it's got all the same stuff in it that you normally have. Some of the car might be less labour intensive to maintain, but the biggest thing that's going to save them money is the crate engine, the spec engine. So that's the biggest cost saving. So that's why some of the teams are like going, what are we actually achieving here?
So looking at that chassis there, chassis doesn't look like it's going to be any cheaper to produce. In some respects, it may be more expensive.
It'd be similar, mate. It's tube welded together. It's obviously no different to what we've got now. It's man hours and steel.
Okay. Transaxle is the same.
That's the same.
Same, so that bolts in, so there'll be no cost saving in the
Well, it's
transaxle.
actually an upgrade to that. So if you look at that transaxle now, they've introduced another upgrade to that transaxle again.
Yep.
When you look at what they've done, it looks like it's been upgraded to accept more load.
Right.
So me thinking about that, the LS or the LSA based GM spec engine is obviously going to make more torque.
Right.
So I think they're already upgrading the transmission to accept that.
So that's a cost.
That's
as well,
a cost.
upgrade?
I think one of those transmissions now ready to bolt in the car is 60 grand.
Yep.
So you need one in the car and you need a spare.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're not looking good on the cost saving so far.
No, I don't think we are.
Yeah.
And then
Okay. So we're not ticking that box.
we're not ticking that box.
Not ticking that box. So
No.
when I say we, they, you know,
Yeah.
we've got nothing to do with it, but we're just relaying everything that we know about it.
Yep.
So that box, well, it's not ticked. Saving costs.
The capital cost of the car
Yep.
is not cheaper.
No, cheaper. Okay.
Okay.
The engine itself, there's still debate over that because there's calls now, again from inside sources, about the parity between the two engines because of the capacity size.
That's a big issue. So the Coyote-based engine, there's plenty of history on that engine being used in racing purposes. You had Ryan McLeod's been using it in the Mark cars, doing 10,000 Ks on it, making 600 horsepower with no issues at all for the last 4 or 5 years.
Right.
No issues at all. So that one ticks the box.
Okay.
It won't be very hard for him to work out what that is. Craig Hasted, the Supercars engine technical guy, he's been seeing those engines that Ryan's been doing right through that whole process. So they're way ahead of the game there on all that. It won't be hard to do that. The GM engine is a bit of a mystery to her. Kenny Mack's involved, best in the business. Will he get it right? 100% he'll get it right.
Right.
They've sent, from what I know, they've sent both of the engines to America, to Ilmore. They'll equal them out and work out what to do. I think Supercars have ticked the box there. But Russ, that's a good story to tell. Okay, they're in front of the engine program, but no one from Supercars has told that story. It's a mystery to her.
Yeah. Well, that is another thing that I want to get onto. We're jumping around a little bit because I wanted to go through the technical side of it first, and then we'll get onto the media side. Right. No, you're right though. I'm glad you refreshed my memory with it because that is some of the issue in not telling the story along the way, as opposed to another category in America that definitely have and involved the people along the way. So we got engine. So engine side of it's probably the most positive sign out the whole lot as far as the parity side of it going, how even it is in horsepower.
Yeah.
So we can tick at that box as such.
Yeah, and then the way they will achieve that, I think, will be they've now got e-throttle, so and they can adjust parity by just working out how much throttle percentage you get.
Okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha. So it's a pretty easy fix. Okay, so far, chassis-wise, no good?
Well,
not achieving anything at the moment?
Well, it does achieve one big plus that you can put a Mustang on that chassis and it doesn't look like a Porsche from 20 years ago that someone stuck wings on, you know?
Yeah.
So you can put relevant road-going cars on that chassis and they don't look goofy. So they need, if they're going to run Camaro, Mustang, or get
Yep.
any other body style in there that needs to be able to bolt on that chassis. So yeah, they've got to do that.
Yeah, which was the first impressions of the Mustang, I guess, from the general public, was that the Mustang just didn't look right. When we see, the thing is, we're all used to it now, so we look at it and it sort of looks all right. But I always go in first impressions. When it first came out, everyone reckons,
Well, it still looks
what's
goofy.
that? It still looks like a bit. It looks like
And the fact that it wins races, people overlook
looks
the
like
fact that it looks goofy.
VW Beetle with a long nose.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So yeah, look, I get that. So the mechanical side of it is mechanical and costs, bar the engine, isn't looking like it's going to be any cheaper. It doesn't look like it's going to be, again, we talk about costs and costs of parts. I spoke to someone the other night that was involved in the process of manufacturing parts for this, and they said the costs will not be any lower for components that are bolted onto the car, panels and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Will not be any cheaper, and are quite a bit behind the eight ball with all that too. Like as far as producing it as well, it's going to be a last minute thing. And again, this is the read that I'm getting from other sources, and I won't mention who they are, but is that they're really behind. You know, they're going to be pushing to get it before December, components. And already there's teams coming out and say, hey, we can't do another thrash over Christmas. We're going to have to keep some of our guys,
Todd Kelly's come out and said that.
Yeah, and rightly so.
And he's just built another new chassis.
Matt Stone Racing,
Yeah.
They said we can't expect our guys to work another full Christmas like they did because of the pandemic stuff last year, and we can't do it. So if they're not going to be able to get componentries towards the end of the year, how the hell are they going to build cars?
The teams will always get it done, Russ. So for me, we know that we don't know what the car's going to look like. We know what it's going to look like. There's a drawing of it. We know it's not going to be any cheaper. So there's logical arguments for me on both sides of the fence to push on and build the car. There's logical arguments to not keep going with it. And I guess that's what's going to come out of the meeting, and the teams are going to have to decide. But I reckon you've got to go back and go, how did we get here? How did it get to this point?
Yes.
Because that's where it's gone wrong. Like this, we knew this was coming for 3 years, and we're 6 months out before we're about to go race a new car, and the teams can't even decide whether they're going to do it or not. Like in my history of being on the Supercars board was, it was a 4-man board back then with an independent. We didn't have a commission. Tony Cochran was in the room. You were in that boardroom, and there was strong debate and robust debate, and everyone had a difference of opinion. But when we decided to do something, we come out of that room and we were united and pushed on in the right direction. And that's how you got things done. Strong leadership and everyone being on the same page. And whether you like that or not, you joined the team. And you accepted that some things you had to compromise on, and some you didn't. So for me, this is where this has fallen down. From a management perspective of the whole business, you've got the commission, which team representatives sit on. Then you've got a board, which 2 team owners sit on, and CEO and the Supercars management. But so in my opinion, that's failed to keep everyone together as a group united. You've got different factions of people doing different things. So that whole structure's fallen down. When I was on the board, as I reiterated, you got united, you got your opinion, and you got on with it. The fact that you don't hear anything from the 2 board members, Rod Nash and Brad Jones, to me is alarming. So if they're for it or against it, I don't really know. But they need to come out and say one way or the other. They need to be some leadership there from those guys.
Well, everything that's been coming out in the media, Paul, has all been very negative. When you look at the media perspective, it's like, you see the Gen 3 boss, John Casey. I don't mind John. I think he did a really good job when he was running the GT category. But I think he got thrown in the deep end with this with this whole Gen 3 thing, and he's now been taken off the Gen 3 and looks like departed from supercars. So something's gone pear-shaped there. Is this just a fall guy?
Oh, well, there's a bit of that, but he was in charge of the project, and the project's a mess. So yeah.
Did he get thrown at the deep end with it though? Did he? Because he didn't come in right from the start though, did he?
No, they put him in there to keep the thing bubbling along and give it a project leader. But it's you've got all these people that work for supercars that are in charge of this project. Okay, so it's the management of the companies driving the build of this car, and they basically haven't got on with the job.
And again, I go on the media side of it, because to me, I always sit on the fan side, right? Especially because I'm on the fan side of the fence nowadays, looking in.
Yeah, so
I'm just a spectator. I'm
Yeah,
just a spectator looking in. So I want to know what's going on with everything. But there was an article that came out not that long ago that there was a ban, and this has come from people that I've spoken to within the media. There's been a ban on any information. The only person that can
talk about
Gen 3 is Sean Seamer. So he's the only. There's no directive from anyone else within Supercars to give information out about Gen 3. In my opinion, that sucks.
Well,
that sucks because seriously, compared to someone like NASCAR, for instance, with their next gen, funny enough, similar sort of names.
Yes.
That has been totally transparent. They've taken the fans on the journey with them over the last 3 years. They've been developing that car. 3 years, right? They've taken them on the journey, right? No problems at all. So everyone has come up to date, and then when it got launched, the crowd, or every NASCAR fan in America went, "Oh, how good's this? This is great," because they knew what was coming. They knew what was coming until they saw the final product. So they made the fan base part of the experience. You know, to me, as a race fan, I haven't been part of this experience. All I'm hearing is negative publicity, and a lot of them. And as you know, with media, they like to thrive on the. On the negatives rather than the positives. But I like to think motorsport media are a little bit better than that. They also like to balance it out with positives. There hasn't been any positives.
No, there hasn't.
Because no one's told them.
Well, there's nothing to tell. So to me, no news is always bad news. If they've got a good story to tell, start telling it.
Yeah.
But that NASCAR process, Supercars have done this before, mate. When we went to Car of the Future, we built 2 prototypes. All the teams were involved. Yeah. Everyone was united. Yeah, some people were compromised, you know. We wanted to put a control upright in it. Other teams wanted to keep their upright. So as compromisers, united, everyone was on the same page. We built prototypes, we rolled it out. We had the prototypes running around at race meetings. The playbook to roll this car out, we've already done.
Good point.
So all you're going to get now, the only way this car's going to get built, right, which is obviously what Roland and Triple Eight have worked out, because they've gone into supercars and gone, what's happening with Gen 3? Oh, nothing. You're that far behind. Righto, let's grab this thing, let's put some horsepower behind it and make it happen. And DJR should be doing the same thing with the Ford. So that's what's got to happen. The bit that you've missed out is taking all the other team owners on the journey with you, let alone the fans. So you need everyone on board. You need everyone pulling in the right direction. The only thing that can happen from here is everyone get on the same page and go ahead with it, or put it off for a year. So
I caught up with Ross Stone
Yeah.
last week. I was in the neighbourhood and stopped into his workshop down at Yatala and actually going over the Caltex, my Caltex Championship winning build, which we're going to be doing a story on soon, so stay tuned on update with that one. Mate, we were under the car having a look and we got talking about, so he's just shaking his head. Mate, and he brought up exactly the same thing as you did, Paul, about the early days when it was yourself and Larry and himself. He used to go in there and be at opposite ends of the table, but at the end of it, you met in the middle, you know, and you got it done. Within the day, you'd made the decisions about whatever the issues were, and you got it done. You know, there was fierce debate and all the rest of it, but you always looked at it from the point of view, what's going to be the best for the category and what's going to be best for the race fan. And I can't stress this enough that, you know, I look at all these reports and papers and all the rest of it, and all I see is what they think is best. It's not what they think is best.
Well,
it's
everyone has to thinks they're going to protect their little bit of technology they got, or everyone wants to have what's right for them. But at the end of the day, you all need each other to race against. So somewhere down the line, there's a compromise. So,
but it's not. Yeah, but with all of that, that's fair enough. But it's not about them. It's about what's best for the race fan.
You're right,
What
Russ.
is going to... That's what's lost amongst all this paperwork I've got sitting here and all the reports I've been reading for the last week, right,
Yep.
preparing for the show. And all I see is nothing about what's going to produce the best outcome for a race car for the race fan. I don't see any of that. I don't see what is... I don't care about the transaxle and that. I want to hear, right, what can we make that the cars are robust enough? We can have, like the old days, I was looking from on Oran Park from 2010, you know, where they're hitting each other and you could come out the other side of it just with panel
Without
damage.
the wheels falling off.
Without the wheels falling off. And like we saw at Tarlin Bend, and there's wheels hanging off cars, and half the good cars got parked up because they just had a little rub.
Well, it's a big hit.
Oh, yeah, but mate, we had big hits, you know, when we were running VSs and... You know, the early model Falcons, you could give them a decent shunt and keep going, keep the race going, which is what the fans want to see. They want to see cars tackling, and there's been none of that. None what's going to produce a good show. All I'm hearing is, what's going to save us a couple of bucks? And I want to know, they're not thinking about that. They're not thinking about us, me, all the rest of the race fans behind the fence going, what's going to make a better contest?
Yeah.
I don't see that, mate. I don't see it.
No, I don't either. And they better get on the same page quickly.
Yep.
One way or the other.
So as a roundup amongst all of this, because, you know, we just want to point out the facts of where we think the negatives are, but we also we never go on this show without going, we don't want to throw stones without having an answer.
Yeah.
So the answer, in our opinion, is think about this a bit more. Put it on the back burner. The racing at the moment, it's good. Everyone's got equipment. Put it off for another year.
With the information that's in front of us at the moment,
Yep.
right? Give us some more information
Yep.
of why you need to keep going,
Okay. Yep.
and that's what they need to do.
Yep. Change our minds.
Change our minds.
Change our minds.
Because
Yeah.
you've got to get everyone on board. So the first thing you've got to do is get all the team owners on board.
Yep.
There's only 12 of them.
Yep.
If you can't get all those guys on board, you've got no chance of getting the public and people like us and the fans to go along on your journey with you.
Yep, totally agree. And then we've got NASCAR. We should just jump onto that because because again, a lot of the questions we've had in is, you know, people were saying, oh, well, hang on, NASCAR, the new next gen car they're bringing out. Well, could we use that?
Well,
Could we use it? Because
it's a good question.
It is. We had quite a few fan questions with that. I reckon it's valid. So let me quickly run down, in case anyone hasn't seen the specs on the next gen, which has just been announced, which will be racing as of next year. So they redesigned the chassis. The chassis has the front and rear clips. So as per the current here, front and rear bolts off. So hopefully you can, if you have a shunt, you can just replace either end, not the centre chassis. They did look at a carbon fibre tub, decided that was too expensive than that, so they're stuck with a tubular chassis. So that was touted that they were going that way. That surprised me actually, because that's fairly major. Replacing the traditional 4-speed manual gearbox. They call it a 6-speed because they can't reverse as a gear.
Well, they do use reverse in pit lane.
Well, they do, yeah. Reverse up pit lane. Days of Thunder style. So that's 5 gears, 4 gears plus a reverse. So they've gone up 1 more gear. Transaxle, X-Track, which is probably their biggest change because they've had a solid rear end for more than 50 decades since the inception of NASCAR. So they're finally going independent rear suspension. That one, as when we spoke to James Small, Martin Truex Jr.'s engineer in the last show, he was 50-50 about about the whole transaxle thing. That seems to be the most controversial thing out of the whole lot, is the transaxle, but they've decided they've got to upgrade, go a bit more modern. That was the outcome of that. Gone to an 18-inch wheel because they're going to bigger brakes, from a 15-inch wheel, from the little mini minor wheel, to a 15-inch, to an 18-inch to facilitate bigger brakes. BBS supplied centre lock wheels. So you're looking at all this and you're going, mate, there's some similarities here. So just they got clamp on, so refueling hose, so no more churns. So they have a hose system, like supercars have had for many years. And from the looks or aesthetics standpoint, manufacturers have be able to put their own styling cues into it to make it look like a Camry or a Mustang or a Camaro. So whereas before the stickers probably dictated what the car looked like.
It was a decal formula.
Decal, yeah, it was. Yeah, they've actually different styling aspects to the body to make it look different from it, and more like a road going. Dimensions are very similar to a road going car as well, so they've brought that in line as far as lengths, obviously a little bit wider. Engines remain exactly the same, so they haven't changed the engine format because they went to fuel injection, and obviously that's been running all right, so it ain't broke.
Yeah, well, okay.
So you keep that going. So when you take all that into account, it's logical changes, very logical.
Yeah, but where'd they get the ideas from, Russ? You remember 4 years ago when Penske come into the country, he rang the NASCAR guys and said, hey, come out to Australia and see what these guys are doing. They come out, had a look what we were doing, and they love the relevance to our road cars. So they've just taken our IP, they've ripped off and duplicate, mate.
Yeah,
they've done the R&D, taken the things they like from our car because they want to still keep the manufacturers engaged and incorporated them in their new car and done a good job of it.
Yeah, and it looks good. Like it looks good, you know. Like I said, that, and they map it out. So this is more media, and they've been feeding the media with all this information about it, and simple.
Which we did with the Car of the Future.
It is, but yeah, we're right.
Yeah.
But it's simple. Here's the car. Here's what we've changed. Here's what we're trying to achieve. Lower the costs, and they've come out straight up. We've got to lower the costs, otherwise all the teams are going to go broke. So we've got to make the cars cheaper. So they've done all this stuff, engaged the fans along the way, so the fans have accepted it.
Yep.
Because you know what Americans are very traditional.
They are, mate. The biggest thing they're blowing up about, when you look at all the comments, is the change from the 5 lug nuts to the centre lug nut.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what they're like over there.
Americans don't like change. It's a tradition. So if there's any more of, I thought Australian race fans were hardcore. Man, they're over the top. They don't. So for them to accept this, that was a big achievement by their marketing and like I said, bringing them on the journey.
Take it back a step, Russ. The first thing they did was get all the team owners on board.
Yeah, okay.
Before they started the journey.
Yeah.
Because this is going from teams manufacturing cars to teams buying cars.
Yeah.
And if you look at someone like Rick Hendrick, and he's gone, hey, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, but if we don't go this way, everyone's going to lose their job.
They're smart.
The first thing they did was get the teams on the same page, then roll it out. So again, that's where we've gone wrong with our version of this. Going back to your question, could we just race those cars? Yes, you could. Why you wouldn't? They're left-hand drive. The body shape is more relevant to the road car, but it's not as relevant as what we're used to.
Yes.
So we're used until the last couple of cars, which look at the Mustang. So when you look at what we want out of our Gen 3 is you want to look at the car and go, yeah, that's a Camaro or that's a Mustang.
Right.
And I still think we should make our own cars in Australia.
Okay.
So
all right. We've got the capability.
We've got the capability to do it.
For sure. Keep it in our own backyard.
Yeah. And again, our cars will be a little bit different. You know.
Yeah.
You look it's the evolution of our car. It's street circuits. It's curbs. It's Bathurst.
Right.
That thing's pretty heavy and it's designed for whack and walls at Daytona where our cars aren't. So
right. Okay.
There's a reason why you wouldn't do that.
And no telemetry.
No.
Very limited, if at all.
Well, the other thing
because we've got to get rid of that, seriously.
So NASCAR spend a lot of money on marketing and working out what the fans want. But if you go through their rollout of the sequential gearbox, and it actually says we didn't go automated and paddle shifting because we wanted to see the fans still see the drivers take their hands off the steering wheel at restarts and on road courses.
Okay.
That was their underlying reason for leaving a shifter in the car.
So they did a survey on it.
It was one of their core values of the new car. The driver still had to shift the gears.
And we've done enough surveys. There's been enough surveys indirectly by people like Speed Cafe and other news sources, as well as we've done it ourselves. Man, I haven't seen too many put their hand up for paddle shift.
No, no one has. Jamie Whincup has come out and talked about.
I saw that. That surprised me.
Yeah.
Surprised me. Is he just towing the board line though? Being on the board, obviously, or commission, or what's he on, the commission or the board?
I think he's towing the 888 line, which is his job. But he's, and I a total amount of respect for Jamie, but he said a couple of things in his statement which aren't factually correct.
Show me.
You can't run an electronic actuator without auto blip. It just doesn't work. So it will be auto blip, but you can still get the clutch. You can still run the clutch. So
okay. Now here's something we prepared earlier.
Yeah.
All right. Let me go into my Tool Pro tool chest.
Oh, you've got electronic actuator, Russ.
Electronic actuator. So you being the mechanical guru of this show,
right?
Here it is. Here. It's an actuator. Take us through what this is about and tell us the flaws in that statement.
Oh, it's pretty simple. This is just an actuator. It sends electronic signal, and this moves in and out.
Yep.
Right? So it'll be the paddle will have a switch, up or down. That'll push in, push out. That's bolted to the side of the gearbox, and that just moves the shift mechanism in the gearbox. So the transmission doesn't know whether a human did that with a lever or you pressed a button to actuate the gearbox.
Okay. So it's taking the place of the big lever that runs that people have seen right down the centre.
That bolts to the actuator. That moves in and out when you push the switch up and down to select the gear.
Yep.
So,
okay. So my question to you, so there's the actuator. So that's just taking the place of a switch doing the shifting as opposed to a gear shift.
Yeah. So what he's saying is,
do you need an auto blip, which is taking the place of heel and towing and all the rest of it, all the stuff we like seeing? Can you run that without the auto blip?
Of course you can. Yeah. Instead of pushing the lever, or you flick the switch, and then as you flick the switch, you blip the throttle with your foot. So the transmission doesn't know what selected the gear.
Right.
So
as a compromise, if they're dead set on going down the paddle shift road, you could have that without the auto blip and still have heel and toe and...
Yeah, and Jamie's 85% got it right. So why would you put that on if you don't have auto blip and rev matching? You know, the whole idea of this is to save money in the transmissions.
Right.
You can factually put a case together why you would run automated shifting, auto blip and electronic shift. It'll stop you over revving the engine, and it is easier on transmission life because the driver can't get it wrong. So instead of making up all these reasons why that you should have it, they should just come out and say we're doing it because of cost reasons and tough luck.
Yeah.
That's, Jamie said something like kids that are 18 don't know what a gear stick is anymore and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to get we'll probably get the worst of the engines at Bathurst by saying this, but there's no bias on this show, I can tell you. And the fact of the matter is I don't go down that road at all about the whole young people and paddle shift and. Look, that's just, I look at it like, people think this paddle shift thing, like my daughter's got a Subaru Impreza that's got paddle shifts. She doesn't even know what they are. I think she thinks they're flashes for the lights or something. She has no idea, never used them. I don't use them when I take her driving in the car. And it's stupid having them in there to start with. Like, why you'd have them in there? I have no, why half the, I mean, You know, I get it maybe a little bit in a some twin cab utes have them where you're going forward driving and you've got your hands full and you want to select a gear or keep it in a gear. I get that. But apart from that, but as far as I remember, there is a gear shift in 95% of every car on the road, whether it's auto or manual, that selects a gear. Just because it's not a manual gearbox, you still grab a lever to put it in a gear.
Yeah.
And it's called a lever. So to say this whole paddle shift thing, I'd like to do a survey on most 18 and 19-year-olds, and they wouldn't even know they had paddle, even if they had a car with paddle shifts, they wouldn't know the paddle shifts were there.
No, well,
they've probably got no idea.
I do a survey most weeks here, mate, because we do a teen driver training course.
Yep.
And I can tell you, the girls come and they drive autos.
Yep.
And the guys that come here want to drive manuals.
Yeah.
And that's all they talk about. There's still engagement with a manual car. They like it. If supercars are going to go to this and automatic shifting for a cost reason, again, come out and just say it.
Yep.
Say it's about saving money. And then you need to do the analysis. Is saving that amount of money worth pissing off the fan base?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's a great point.
So yeah, total respect for Jamie about what he's doing and where he's going at. But if you're going to start talking about this stuff,
get it right.
Do a little bit more research than just in your own factory. You know.
Yeah.
Get out there and find out what's going on.
Yep. No, I agree. And you know, I've always said with all this, and I keep saying about, you know, taking the fan on the journey, and it's about the fan, which it should be. And to me, you know, even at Tail and Bend, I was watching a lot of Shane's Van Gisbergen's in-car or anyone's in-car. And I just like seeing the gear shift and they're doing stuff in the car and the heel and towing and seeing all that stuff. And I call it the motorsport theatre. That's the theatre to me. I'm sitting there watching on the TV set, and to me, that's the theatrics of the whole thing. And I go, oh, how cool is that? He's going through the game, he has to grab a gear and he's got a bit, and he's missed a gear. Whoa, hang on, you know. I like seeing all that. To me, that paints the picture. And then to take it from that to what I see in watching a Formula One race, and they're sitting there going, click, 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 click. And I'm going, put it back on the track. I've had enough of the in-car. I don't want to see this anymore because I'm not seeing anything. Well, I'm not seeing any theatrics. All I'm seeing is a dude turning for corners. I mean, you can't even see him push the paddles. You know, you can't even see him change gears. You can just see the finger move. Yeah. It's like I don't see anything. To me, I look at the two and I go, I know what's more engaging. Remember, we had on the show here a lap of Ayrton Senna's lap around Monaco compared to Lewis Hamilton. Yeah. I know which one I'd rather look at.
There was a great comparison to that on the weekend because you went from a supercar race with the sequential shifter to the Porsche race come up with in-car camera in it, and like you cross to the in-car and there's nothing going on.
There's nothing going on, mate. Yeah, and it's part of the show. Yeah. Never forget that, and you're right, cost versus reward. Save a few bucks, how much is it going to cost you with the fan base? And sponsorship and all the rest of it that goes with it. So, you know, it's, mate, there's more to look.
Do the numbers, but if that's what you're going to go with because you need to save money, come out and say that. Yeah. Come and tell us why. Yeah. Come and say, if we go to this, we're going to save X dollars per kilometre. Okay, all right, I get that. Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, all our opinions on this are our own, but we'd like to thank Paul's run a race team before.
I get why you want to do that.
He's a but you're a driver, you've run a race team, you speak with people that have been down that road. We speak to the Ross Stones, the Larry Perkins of the world. And you know, these are smart guys. To me, if I was setting up a board, I'd have these guys on the board. You know, I'd be going, there's nothing wrong with looking in the revision mirror. Sometimes looking out the windscreen isn't always the best way to go, you know. Get some old school opinions too.
Okay, go back to 97, you won Bathurst with Larry? Yeah. Okay. Remember what that car was like? Yep. Okay. You look at the car Larry built in 97 and have a look at the car Gibson Motorsport built in 97. Yep. Both did the same job. I reckon one cost twice as much as the other one. Yeah. Right? So, you know, what we're lacking at the moment is the Ross Stones, the Larry Perkins, those sort of people being strong enough to to keep this thing in check.
Okay, yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a worry because you know, and the reason we're very passionate about it is because we're passionate about the sport.
Give me the business case on this.
Yeah. Make it logical.
I know there is one.
Yeah, and to be honest, I reckon it's a done deal with all this because I look at the.
Mate, it's a done deal.
These are some of the diagrams. There were steering wheels, I think, at Sandown that got bandied around. All of them had the facilities and the holes and everything there already drilled for paddle shift. To me, I reckon the deal's done with
It's
paddle
done,
shift.
and then Sean's come out and said they're going to trial both.
No, I reckon.
I know for a fact that you can't even fit a shifter in that new chassis.
Really?
Yeah, so that, you know, just get on the same page, say what you're going to do,
I reckon it's a done deal. Of
course it is, mate.
It's a done deal. A shame, but anyway, it's just taken another aspect out of it, which, you know, I don't think is for the better. Now, I wanted to get, so that's it. That's our Gen 3
All right,
wind
yeah,
up.
Gen 3.
Yeah, I reckon we've covered it off pretty good, as much as what we know.
Much as what we know.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And some of the teams know less than us, mate.
We don't know any more than that. Dude, been some great news come out, long overdue, and probably should never have got that way to start with, that there's some committee that's being formed to see the viability of bringing the Formula Fords back to a recognised national championship.
Yeah, that's music to our ears, isn't
I
it?
couldn't agree more.
I don't know why you need a subcommittee, because I reckon.
Yeah, tell me about that. So it's the Formula Ford.
Yeah, so
Australia going to Motorsport Australia.
Well, I think Motorsport Australia have somehow worked out now that Formula Ford's still around. It's a training category that we need. Okay, so if you go back to what happened, Motorsport Australia sold the concept of F4 and thought that was going to be a good training car for Australia. And people like us inside the industry thought, well, that to me it doesn't really have any relevance. It got proven to be a disaster. It was a disaster for a lot of reasons.
Expensive.
Well, it wasn't that expensive. It just doesn't have any relevance. It's paddle shift, it's wings, it's slicks. The Formula Ford met a really good entry-level category from Australia. You learnt to race a car with mechanical grip. You learnt a lot about springs, shocks, sway bars, how a car works. You learn all your craft, okay, without aero interfering with that, and it sets you up for a really good platform. And it's the reason. It is 100% the reason why we're still getting all these good Kiwi drivers coming into Australia, because they're racing Formula Ford over there at 14, 15 years of age.
Yeah, okay.
They're getting all that experience. So,
but it should have never been, because they ran it as state. So Formula Ford still
still
has
thriving.
state series.
So it's still thriving.
But it got deregistered as such, if you like to use that term, deregistered as a national championship, which I could never figure out.
It got deregistered as a national championship, and they tried to put it back to state-based championships.
Yeah.
To win a state-level Formula Ford championship, I think you get 6 points towards your super licence points.
Okay.
But to win the Australian championship, you got nothing. It's not recognised, because what happened was the Formula Ford championship went off. The association still ran the national-based championship. Some of the races are on AASA sanctioning. Right. Some are on Motorsport Australia sanctioning. Everyone pretended that Motorsport Australia didn't really exist. Okay, it's there. It's still what we need. Let's see what we can do about it. So, but mate, I don't know why you need a subcommittee or all this stuff. You should be able to sort that one out by lunchtime. Like, put your arm back around it, work out what's there, give it some championship status, get the thing breathe some life back into it, because it is very important. And then
I was shocked and really disappointed when it wasn't recognised as a national championship, because look at all the drivers over the years that have come out of that category to do something or be someone in the land of motorsport, and we sit here as part of that as well. And some of my best days in racing was racing Formula Fords, and part of it was the whole learning experience as well, and they say, from go-karts now you can go straight up to wing classes and all the rest of it, but you don't you don't learn the mechanics of it. You know, I learnt how to change gear ratios and learn about casters and cambers and toe-ins and all the rest of it.
What's the most important thing on a race car, mate? Tyres.
True.
Formula Ford teaches about tyres. You know
Tyres,
what? Because you can see them.
Yeah. When you lock a brake.
You can see all that stuff. So it's very important. Oscar Piastri came out and made a statement about it, which I thought was pretty good. He says it has no relevance if you're trying to make it to Formula One, and he's 100% right. It doesn't. And what's happening is, if you look at, I think all that formula racing is artificial racing. Like, even in Formula 3, they have DRS. The only way you can pass someone is if you have this artificial aid that picks up speed the car behind you. So, it doesn't have any relevance, but it's good it doesn't have relevance.
Yeah, I'm disappointed that Oscar came out with those sort of comments.
You need to look at the whole context.
I know, but I don't agree with the fact that Formula 4 was one of the few categories that used to teach you the whole spectrum of going motor racing. Yes, there was a mechanical side of it, and I get it about the aero, and it's got no relevance to wings and slicks formulas, but it teaches you, it's still one of the best categories for wheel-to-wheel racing. I reckon that and the Aussie cars, the legend cars, about wheel-to-wheel racing, and that's all part of it, and that's what a lot of drivers that I see coming up through the ranks have lost, that haven't had that Formula Ford experience, is that they may be able to punch out a fast lap time, but they don't know how to race.
No, and you know, mate, if you race with open wheel, you've got to give the guy enough room, or you're not finishing the race.
Yep. Yeah, so you've got to pass someone and keep the thing together.
Yeah, not tangle wheels. So it's a good craft to have, but it doesn't have any relevance to Formula One.
No,
the guys that are high-level go-karters are going straight to Europe. Look at Oscar, look at Jack.
Yep.
If their goal is to do that, they need to be in Europe. They need to be in that downforce cars. But not in that trade, but mate, we're in Australia.
Not everyone wants to go to Formula One.
Well, everyone wants to.
And other people want to go racing. They may want to go open wheel racing, and it's still affordable. You know, it's not too much of a jump up from go-karts. It's an affordable, and if you want to then detour into Toyota 86s or wherever you may go, you know, they haven't got downforce either.
No.
At least it's a good training ground in honing your skills, or maybe you just want to race Formula Ford and you don't want to go anywhere else. You just want to race Formula Ford, you know. Have a national championship that the best of the best can go there. That's recognised, you know, and mate, like you said, you don't need a committee for that. You need go down the local pub and
there's some key stakeholders.
After a good T-bone, you'd make the decision. You know?
There's some key people involved, but you've just got to resolve to make that championship status again. Put your arm back around it, give it some love, and then work out what that's going to look like in the future.
Yeah.
So whether that's come up with a new concept car that's a bit safer or has a halo on it, or definitely the best thing I've heard come out of Motorsport Australia in a long time.
And so don't stuff it up. Just get in and do it. You know.
If you need a hand, give us a call.
Yeah. Phone's always open.
It's a good one. Thank you.
It is. Yes, absolutely. Had some good memories in Formula Ford, I've got to tell you.
We had some good times back then, didn't we?
We had some good times, both on and off the track. It was good.
I remember, mate. I remember when you rolled up with that 90 Van Diemen. It's the first car that had the slopey nose.
Oh, yes.
We all had the 89 cars, and you had one. I think you come in and thing. How long ago was that now, you reckon, Russ?
Wow, it's just a Norwell time machine.
It is the Norwell time machine.
Is it?
Ta-da!
No. Oh, no way. It's not the real thing.
It is.
Serious?
It is the real thing, Russ.
1990 championship winner.
That's the 1990 championship winner, mate.
Nah, serious? The actual original car.
Have a look at the serial number.
Thanks, too. Oh, it is too. Yeah, Van Diemen, RF90, chassis number 1489. It is too.
But the stuff you learn in this car race, it's still relevant.
This is it.
Yeah.
And this was, when this came out, this was state of the art. Like it was just.
I remember it.
So
I remember
much
being
different.
at Amaru Park and we were testing. You rolled this thing out, and it was just like, oh wow.
Because the 89 what you raced, it was a more rounded front.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
it come out
and this was a big thing. Like, and when it's funny, you know. And this is what we're saying about Formula Ford, about being, you know, learning your skills. This is where designers learnt as well.
Well, it did. And this is where your engineers and mechanics were bred, and you need the nursery formulas that aren't production car based to train people. Like, look at the rear end, mate. It's the same as what's in a supercar at the moment, a transaxle with wishbones.
Wishbones.
So,
but when you go to the front of it, you know, we talk about, and think of the designers in Van Diemen up near Snetterton, which I spent many years hanging around that place, right? The designers that came up with this almost, you know, platypus build nose and that.
Knock off the Ferrari. Remember the Ferrari coming out looking like that, and then this car turned up.
Look at all the Formula One cars. The current Formula One cars, look at them all now.
Slopey nose.
Slopey, flat nose. It gives you downforce. Basically, it's a wing turn the other way.
Well, we always thought you had a car advantage, but
it was a pretty good car.
It was.
I got to tell you, it was a fair step up from the 89.
No,
you still had to steer it, mate. Come on.
Yeah.
But no, this was so far and slimline, and look at the lines of it. I mean, the waist, it looks like
it was a game-changing car.
It's a supermodel of Formula Fords, you know, nice waist in the middle, and it was just a cool thing. And mate, this is where it all happens.
You know who owns this? John Tetley.
John Tetley. I thought he owned it.
Yeah.
He actually owns a few. He's got some Formula 3 cars and
NASCAR and that, but I think it's cool that it's here. It's in Australia.
It's amazing. It's
good
amazing
thing to show you.
It's amazing looking back at it, because you get all those flood of memories back. You know, working on the thing, and you know, lift the two, you lift the front up, you put it on stands.
On stands, and you lever it up and away you go. Uncomplicated.
Mate, this diff in this thing, right? They used to have smoke coming off the nuts of those things, because we used to pull it out the back, changing gear ratios every 5 minutes. Oh, not happy with second gear. Oh, another tooth there, and top gear, and
no data. This is all your mind,
mate. This is the data.
That was the data.
Hands and feet.
Yeah.
You know, that was the actual data. Nothing else. You know, because that was it. Look at that rev counter. Not even digital. It's just the old rev counter, right? Oh, they're starting to struggle a bit. I'm going to put a higher top gear in it, lower top gear.
Great.
Oh, this stuff's going around, and this is why this not being a national championship is a disgrace. You know, it should. There's so much learning goes on with this in every aspect. You know, it's pretty cool.
It's a good one, eh?
Yeah, it's good. Wish it was running. Be good. We're gonna have to. I said we're gonna have to get you a 89.
91, mine is.
Oh, you still got the 91.
91. You drove it, remember?
Oh,
Episode
yeah.
7 or something.
I thought you had the 89 still.
No, I don't. I'd like to know where that car is, but
Yeah. I thought you had the 89.
they're cool to have, and
yeah, and you pull the. We've got an engine.
Yeah, that's the Kent Formula Ford engine. Your fuel tank's here.
It's not the original engine, but I should imagine that's gone by the wayside now. But it's still a lot here. But that's it. Rocker ratios. You know, you could learn about rocker ratios, spring platforms.
Yeah, ride
heights, corner weights. Amount of times this used to spend on the scales. You know, getting the corner weights right. All these this is what you learnt with the whole thing. And let's face it, all the basics of this just carries through.
Well, it carried through right up until the current cars that they still have. The new cars have got the big side pod there to stop the wheels getting interlocked and a bit safer. But the basics of this car shouldn't change. And Motorsport Australia, success leaves clues. You don't have to reinvent the wheel here. Just put your arm back around this formula, get some good common sense around it, and let's get on with it.
And everything from, you know, teams like Sonic Motorsport, who ran Formula Fords for ages and still do at a state level. You know, you could, from those sort of teams, or you can roll this on a trailer,
It happens.
behind mum and dad's ute
And go race.
and go racing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what's important, still having something that caters for both ends of the spectrum, like the Hyundai XLs.
Yep.
Both ends of the spectrum. You roll up in a transporter, you can roll up in a trailer.
You can still be competitive.
And still be competitive.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, look, it's got one of these things in it too, dude.
A shifter.
Gear shift.
That's good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. How many times you come off and you had blisters on your hands, you know, 'cause they were hard too, you know, because they weren't the most technical things.
31 years ago, mate. Right? Seems like yesterday. And I remember the story. I remember you were off to Europe. We were all excited because Russell Ingall was going to Europe and we thought, oh, he's going to take him on over there.
Yeah.
You'd sold this car and I think you did a deal with Stephen White and his dad to
Exactly.
traded a roadie in it, like a HSV.
Yep.
And the night before you went to fly out to Europe, I remember it had all Julia's photography equipment in the car, and the car got nicked and it wasn't insured, and you lost your race budget. Is that?
that was it. Yeah, actually, I forgot that part of it, you know, because I was only looking at the positive memories from this. There was a few negative ones. Yeah, I was flying out. We decided to do the. You got 10 grand for winning the Driver to Europe series. It was basically a one-way ticket.
One-way ticket.
Yeah, one-way ticket, and bad luck about getting back. So bought our tickets. Decided, yeah, I'm going to give Europe a swing. Bugger it. So yeah, I sold it to Stephen White. Went to Sydney that day. The day before we were flying out. Did the deal. He swapped a HSV road car, Commodore, and some cash.
Yeah.
And then I went to Stephen Knott's place, who did all the engines for me. The late Stephen Knott.
Sell the car for you?
Yeah, yep. I was going to leave it with him. He was taking it to a car yard dealer mate of his and sell it while I was overseas, because that was our race budget.
Yeah.
You know, so did the deal. Everything's good. It was parked in front of his apartment that night in Sydney, and yeah, you're right. Stupidly enough, Julia left all of her equipment in the back of the boot, because we never thought anything was going to happen. She had all the big camera lenses, probably 20 grand's worth of cameras in the back. And long and short of it is, came out the next morning, it was gone. Some low-life mongrel gutter bastard bloody pinched the thing and got a nice bonus with all the cameras in the back of it. We got the cops involved that morning, but we were flying out that afternoon. So we had to make a call. I said, what do we do? Got, like, seriously, no dough. I think we had a couple of grand and everything was booked. We just had to press on, you know, so hoping that we would find the car when we were away and sort it out then. So Steve Knott sort of kept, you know, the weeks pursued, and end of the story is couldn't find the car. Car disappeared, never to be seen again to this day. I went to Europe anyway. We rolled up at Gatwick Airport with about 2 grand and just said, hey, we're here, might as well press on.
Give it a swing.
Russell Atkinson came over with me. He was my mechanic for years. I just had to pay his living costs, nothing else, and he never charged me a dime, you know. And
incredible story. Like,
yeah,
most people would have, like, if that was today and you lost your phone, people wouldn't get on the plane.
yeah.
You know, I'm trying to put that in. I remember when it happened. I still was like, oh shit, oh, you're still going, mate. And it was,
well, had to. So we rolled up at Snedden to Van Diemen's, and
well, you went.
You know, luckily I found a sponsor over there that gave us a road car and enough money to live on, Bradshaw Vehicles, and that's the first years I ran, had Bradshaw down the side. Van Diemen helped me out, Ralph Furman, and you know, that's how it all got. But we had to, you know, we were committed, and I thought, bugger it. So old man loaned me some money. I had a life insurance policy when I was a teenager. I cashed that in. That's the only thing I had left, was this insurance policy.
All in.
Cashed it in, all in. Everything, mate. Every single dime I had to my name, invested. So if I failed, she was
I think it's a good story. Like,
I come back with nothing, mate.
It's a good one. It's stuff you don't see these days.
No, you don't see. It's about commitment, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, luckily it had a happy ending, but it could have gone the other way too. But yeah, never going to die wondering.
Well, that's why I reckon when you got that phone call from Roland Dane, I know your determination, mate. I know when you decide you're going to do something, you're going to do a good job of it. So that's why I reckon you're going to go good at Bathurst, mate. That same mindset.
It never goes away, mate.
Never goes away.
We'll give it a swing.
So
the body's a lot older, but mine's still all right, mate.
I reckon that's one of your biggest strengths, mate. So.
Yeah. No, that's why it's good seeing this, dude.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, mate. That's bloody good of you. You know, it's good seeing again.
Ripper.
Good thing, huh? Oh, that's good, Dave.
It's good, isn't it?
Hey, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Oh, so it was very good of you for organising that.
Yeah.
Bloody good of you. No, it's good. Brings back great memories, and like I said, it was just good days. You know, some of the best days of motorsport.
No, all we had was a stopwatch and a lap board.
Yeah.
No data.
Yeah. Hey, and it's still serious stuff too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was sheep stations.
It was good fun.
No, it was good. Thanks, dude. No, really enjoyed that, and hopefully everyone else did too. Trip down memory lane. Fan questions.
Righto.
We're getting to the end of the show, and we've had, like I said with the Gen 3 discussion, we've had hundreds of comments about Gen 3, so we hopefully answered all of them.
Yeah.
With our opinionated Gen 3 review. So I hope that's answered all of them. But we'll get to some of the others too, because it's not always about one thing or another. So let's roll, dude. I'll throw one at you, and you can throw it back, and we'll go from there.
Right, yeah.
We've got more. Geez, we've got plenty here. Don't know how many we're going to get through. From Tar Pahakis, Pahkes. Don't know if it's a fictitious name or what, but anyway. Tar, why can't we have some rounds that are truly track-based? No tyres or refuelling necessary. The best category in the world, MotoGP, has only 45 minutes long, one race, no stops, unless for wet bike changes. So basically what Tar was saying is, would this work? I suppose going back to the early days where we had 3 20-minute races.
I'll tell you what, it won't work.
Yeah.
Because no one can pass. And the only way we can get any passing interest in the sport is to have pit stops. So that's why.
So again, you're what you're saying before about F1 with the only way to do passing.
The only way we're passing is by having guys doing different things. The undercut, the overcut, passing on the tracks, basically gone unless it's rain. So that's why we're not doing it.
Yeah.
And there's a real good argument to make Gen 3 happen. So that, again, there's arguments for and against Gen 3.
Yep.
If you want to make it happen, build your case.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's going to come with no downforce too.
Yeah.
So that's what you're saying,
a good argument.
because they're saying 65% less downforce.
That's a good story for Gen 3. Oh, there'll be more passing because there's less downforce. Oh, okay.
So then you could have more sprint type races.
You could
with
get
no
back
stops.
to that sort of racing where you could pass.
Yeah, because that's one of the things I always find with supercar races at the moment. Again, being a punter and watching them on TV, I hate seeing so much qualifying. All this qualifying is just bullshit to me. I don't want to see qualifying.
I want to see races.
I want to see races. I'd rather scrap all those qualifying sessions. Yeah, have the first one. Have a progressive grid. I still reckon progressive grids are good. If you want to revert the top 12, maybe there's some argument for that. You know, like I said, some categories like F3 in Europe are doing it. But no matter what, progressive grids reward the guys that have had a lousy qualifying, that have raced their way to the front, and have more races, less qualifying.
Percat would have loved it this weekend.
Exactly.
It could have changed his whole way around. So. But that's a good argument why you need Gen 3. If the racing's better, and you can get rid of all the artificial stuff, people might forget that the thing's got paddle shift. if there's actually racing. We're only caught up on paddle shift at the moment because that's the only thing that makes it look exciting is the guys changing gears.
Changing gears.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Have your paddle shift, just make the cars better to race.
Yep.
Yeah. No,
Tell the story, mate.
Totally agree. Thanks for that, Tar. That actually opened up a lot more debate. And that's a good thing about fan questions. It opens up debate to other things.
It does.
So that's what I like doing. Right out, what do you got at me, dude?
I've got, and this is a good one.
Yep.
And this shows that we've got some pretty observant fans.
Yep.
Are there still some concerns about the equality of the wet tyres in supercars at the moment? So
okay.
This is how engaged our fans are. So there's never been anything publicly said about this. There's just been a few drivers make a few off the cuff comments about the wets.
Yep.
And yeah, I reckon there is a difference in the tyres, but it's not the tyres, it's the way they've been stored by the different teams. So if you go back to the batch numbers and how they've been stored, what's happened is some of the older tyres that weren't purchased at the race meeting, which the teams have had in their possession, and obviously done a better job of storing them, are a little bit better. And
well, there's some teams that have dedicated rooms,
There is.
containers that are climate controlled, a bit like a wine cellar. You know, wine cellar,
Exactly like a wine cellar. So
wine cellar for tyres, you know.
That's what's going on. And the reason, I think that's always gone on, but this year we've had some wet races and we've had wet weather for a long period of time, and in qualifying sessions where you've had teams throw multiple sets of wet tyres at a car in a session,
Yeah.
and the drivers are picking up that they're different.
I've never been a fan of the wet tyre that they currently use. It's to me, the tread is quite old spec. It's really hard to drive on. I drove the TCR car on the Michelin wet.
Yeah.
Holy hell.
Yeah, that'd be 10, 15 seconds a lap quicker.
I couldn't believe it, how good it was. I went out there and thought it was still dry, like in the wet.
Yeah, but
The Michelin wet was bloody fantastic. I can see why they run a very hard compound, because they don't want intermediates and they don't want 3 or 4 different wets. So they're trying to make a wet tyre last long. But to me, think of it in reverse, dude, where if you had a softer wet that did deteriorate faster, you'd be more, if it started to dry out, you'd be more prone to going in and having a run on dries.
you would.
Forcing you to go on to dries earlier than you would, because the drop-off is too great with the wet tyre. At the moment, you can almost run it till the track's dry.
You can.
Because it's so hard.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, it's around Bathurst, she's hard work around there. Like, you're paying attention.
I'd like to see the introduction of a hand cut intermediate as an optional tyre. Like if you went to the track and
Yep.
you've got allocated your 5 sets of tyres.
Yep.
If you want to cut one of those, hand cut one of
Mate.
your sets out of your original
Yep.
set and use that as an intermediate, that would bring the race in your life.
Sandown.
We all used to do it.
I'm just trying to rattle off the year. Your punters will probably know better
Yeah.
than me. Sandown, Larry, Castrol, Commodore. I think we lapped everyone up to 3rd place. That's when you could hand cut the Dunlop.
Yep.
That's when it was still open tyre.
Open tyre, yeah.
Open tyre, but we hand cut a Dunlop tyre. And
Put
the
2 or 3
thing
grooves
was,
in it?
yeah, thing was on fire. Like, we
Yeah.
lapped everyone up to 3rd place because we took a swing at it. Every second block we cut out, we hand grooved it, had a hand groover in the truck. We used to do it.
Maybe that's something they could introduce. So at the moment you can't
Yeah.
touch the tyre, but
Hey mate, it's a cheap tuning tool. It's cheaper than paddle shift.
yeah, it is.
Got a hand groover.
Creates
And that makes a
differences.
difference. It creates differences.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
Okay.
Okay. So, see, getting through our fan questions, we're causing
Knowledgeable people we have
causing
in this
debate.
fan
If you were given the power, dude, to make one rule change for V8 supercars, what would you change and why?
Mine would be data related, and I would mandate that you're only allowed 1 laptop per car.
Okay. Get rid of telemetry.
And yeah, and
Yeah.
the data has to get rid of it. Just dull the data acquisition and all that process down.
So the emphasis comes more there on driver feedback, mechanical feedback, driver giving more input,
Yeah,
which you learn through Formula Ford.
you do.
Like the way I slipped that in. Okay, got one for me.
Oh yeah, let me go through there.
Geez, there's some good questions in there.
Yeah.
Really good. We're going to have to do a show just about with fan comments one day.
Yeah, we should do that, wouldn't we?
Yeah, we got to, because they ask, like I said, they ask.
Okay.
Ask some good questions.
Oh, this is the
Yeah.
one I want for you, Russ.
Okay,
Because
all
this is great.
Okay.
With the super licence being an issue for some co-drivers last year,
Yeah.
and with Russell not racing a supercar for years, how does he go about getting one?
Oh, I just squeezed through.
Did you?
Because of my last outing with Rick Kelly, because it goes for 5 years.
Oh, okay.
So with Rick Kelly, I did the 3 endurance races, and that
Yep.
gives you enough points. But I also did TCR with that too, so I
Yeah.
got points through the TCR, through the podiums I got in TCR anyway.
So you're good?
Which topped it over, yeah, but because I just came under the scope of, but,
And you had the money to pay for it.
hey, yeah, for
How
the
much did it
licence.
cost?
Oh, God, it was,
For the super licence bit, another 600-700?
yeah, I think it was a couple grand all up, 2.5 grand,
Okay,
you know,
all
so
right.
wasn't cheap for one race.
No.
And you know how I don't
Well,
like spending money.
If Motorsport Australia spend that money on getting Formula Ford back together, that'd be all right. You'd feel all
I
right
have
about
no
that.
arguments in my hard earns going there if they reach a deal with Formula Ford. How's that? I've contributed to the cause. Yeah, no problems at all. Hey, I've got one here. Hang on, where is it? Yes, because I got some information here about it, and you'll be able to probably first in a little bit more. Any more wildcards for Bathurst? Any truth about the rumours of Boost wildcard with Stanaway and Murph from the Human headline?
Pete?
Pete Adderton from Boost. He is the Human headline. They say it's firming up.
I think.
Do you reckon it's going to?
I reckon it's happening. I reckon he had it planned.
Yeah.
And you guys are stolen his
You reckon we iced him on it?
Yeah, I reckon you.
He seemed a bit cut up about it. A few of his posts that he did.
He did, but yeah, my tip is that's going to happen.
I reckon that's great.
From what I know, they were looking at doing a deal with DJR.
Yep.
I think they're going to firm up and do a deal with Erebus. That would be my tip, or maybe Tickford, because they're aligned with those two teams. But I'd say probably more towards Erebus. I reckon it's going to happen.
That's good. That's good. Good to see Murph back in the seat. Murph's he's actually been doing a bit of racing back in. I see he's been doing rallies and he's been doing it. So he's been getting back behind the wheel.
The clues are there, aren't
they?
He's been.
Oh, I'm up to you, Murph. I'm up to you. I reckon he's putting some laps in.
He's not going to come unprepared.
Yeah, and Richie, look, Richie just had, he obviously wasn't happy with the team that he was in, and he had a rough experience in supercars, but you can't deny what he did overseas. He had a pretty successful career in open wheelers overseas.
He has.
And
if it rains, look out.
Yeah.
That guy is dynamite in the wet.
He was good in the wet.
Yeah.
And now he's had a time to reflect and get back to normality a bit. He probably might come out firing. So I reckon that's a real good chance. Hope to see it. Hope to see that back on. So William Lavelle, good question for that. So thanks for that. What else we got, dude? Anything?
Yeah, this one comes up a lot with the fans, and I see this in a lot. But it's about to do this free to air. It says, why can't we have all races televised on free to air TV? Do you think that supercars would have more fans if they went back to free to air?
How often do we see that?
A lot.
How often do we see it? There's two aspects in this, dude. Yes, definitely. I think you saw the difference straight away of the numbers of the first round in Adelaide. Yes, it was a first time back racing, perfect storm, no NRL, no AFL. 7 got hold of it. 7 ratings were damn good, really good. But first event, decent event back after COVID, you couldn't get any more positives. No competition from other sporting codes. So yes, the numbers were great. It showed the strength of free-to-air compared to subscription TV, which really their numbers was about the same as before, hadn't changed. But add that with the free-to-air numbers, you got decent percentage again of TV viewers. So yes, you need free-to-air. It has, in my opinion, suffered because of it, of not having a consistent free-to-air. But my argument still is about online. And we did the Hyundai Excel race, as you know, the World Endurance Cup with Brock Fanny. That was streamed live on YouTube through a little network TV that does the vision for...
It's free.
It's free.
Yeah.
And look, yes, it wasn't Supercars production, but it wasn't Supercars budget either, but at least you could get on there. You had an idea what the racing was about. And to me, I just look at it all and go, you know what? That the whole streaming thing, if you can monetize that, everyone's got a smartphone, an iPad, a computer. If you can somehow find out how to monetize online streaming to good effect, that to me is the future. That's the future of broadcasting for supercars.
I think so.
There is no doubt about that, and they do their own production.
But pay-per-view or?
Yeah. They're 75% of the way there because they do their own production, and they do a really good job of it.
Well, Flow Racing do that in America with all the short tracks.
Yep.
It's streaming, and it's basically kept all the short track racing and dirt track racing alive in America through COVID.
Yep.
But it's $5 or $10 to go on and watch the race you want to race. It's a price for beer.
Yeah.
So. If you can turn on your phone and go, that race is on, click, done.
Mate, you got to
I think you'll do
pay-per-view.
it.
Tell me there wouldn't be more money in there because you're not opening up yourself to Australia. You're opening yourself up to the world.
Yeah, so
There's got to be
the
more money in
downside
that.
with our pay or Foxtel or what
Yeah.
is the monthly subscription, and you've got to buy all the shit you don't want.
Yeah.
That's what stops
yeah.
the 70%
Yeah.
of the public not buying it.
Yeah. No, it's it's a good question. One more, dude, and then we've got to press on.
Righto. Oh.
You on? You're on.
Oh, mate.
This is
This one.
a speaking gig, dude. All right.
This is a funny one.
Okay. All right.
Where is it? I have a question for Russell.
Okay.
Have you forgiven Paul for shunting you off via John Bow at Phillip Island in 2000? And they've even put the YouTube clip up.
Are you kidding me?
You've got some good fans. I don't remember it, do you?
I don't remember it. Who did I shunt?
I don't know. I must have pushed John Bow into you or something.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I don't know. Who's it from?
Mark Allsop.
Okay, Mark, I'll jump on YouTube and have a look. Oh, mate.
Maybe we can put that up.
But yeah, we'll put it up. Hey, look, but that was a good thing about that. There was so much of that went on in the early days, and this is exactly what we're banging on about is the era of those early days of racing. Go back, because there's so much dribble and crap and on TV at the moment with reality programs. It's mind-numbing garbage, right? That I just sit back at nights now and whack on YouTube and just look at old racing. And the amount of old racing I've been looking at from Oran Park and Amaroo and all these old... And I look at the racing and going, there's two things that stand out. Racing's bloody good. It's hard-ass races, having a big go. And the second thing is, holy Jesus, have a look at the crowd numbers around the circuit. Oran Park, 50 deep all the way around. There's people everywhere, like Winton and all those. Have a look around those circuits back in, 04, 05.
Yeah, well, it's the magical year of the sport.
Oh
times,
man, it's just and that's you look at all that and man, it's amazing. It's amazing, but
Pretty fortunate to be a part of all that, really, weren't
oh
we?
mate, I wouldn't change eras for quids.
No.
Would you?
No, but I can tell you what would have happened. You would have come up and given me a spray.
Yep.
I would have copped it.
Yep.
And then we would have had a beer on the way home.
yeah, exactly.
But you wouldn't have gone, oh, mate, what happened there? You just would have gone, fucking dude, you dickhead. Blah, blah, blah. And I would have copped it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, okay, fair enough,
You
mate.
jump on whinging and bitching about it and just square up down the road.
Yeah.
But
And then we would have agreed not to disagree or...
as soon as you drive out those gates of the track.
That was it.
That's it.
That was it.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of culture loss
Yeah.
in motorsport at the moment too.
You remind me, do you remember the incident in the stadium truck that you had with Sean Richardson on Tassie?
Yeah.
Where he's giving you one?
Yeah.
That was the best bit of Russell Ingall I've seen from him. You've lost your shit out of him. I wish I had caught that on camera because it was...
Oh, okay.
It was perfect. It was what racing used to be like.
Yeah.
Yeah, give it to him.
Yeah, but you drive out the track and that was it.
Yeah, that was it.
I'll get him back on the next one.
Yeah, I think you told him something
this was
like
an
that.
incident that happened at Tasmania in the stadium trucks.
It was perfect.
Someone fixed me up from behind. And had a bit of a session afterwards
was
back in the
gold.
pits.
I was like,
yeah.
that's how
but
it
that's what
should
it is,
be.
racing. But it was good. I've come out. I
I
felt
think
like
it was along the lines of, you better hope someone gets you first before I get to you. Because when I do, mate,
I felt like Mike Tyson walking away from that one. Oh, no, yeah, okay.
I loved it.
Oh,
I
it's
loved
funny
it,
yourself.
Russ.
All right. No, it's been a good show, dude.
Yeah.
It's been excellent for your laughs. A bit of knowledge along the way. I just want to quickly throw... Jesus, it's going to turn into an extravaganza, this one. Now, I was talking to a mate of mine, a car dealer. I won't name him, but he's a car dealer in Sydney.
Oh, so you didn't get a free car, have you?
Yeah, no, I won't know. So it's no freebie job here. But I was talking to him about...
Did you used to get a free car?
No, I don't think I ever did.
All right, so proper mate.
I don't know why I'm mates with him because I've never got anything out of him. But anyway, he had several Holden dealerships in Sydney. And I was talking to him the other day and we were talking about just about supercars and sponsorship and all the rest of it. And I think the Supercheap thing came up a little bit there on how to treat your sponsors, you know.
Yes.
And there's a little bit of... how can I say it, discontent probably amongst the fan base on probably how Supercheap were handled with the whole Bathurst thing.
Oh, yeah.
So, and the departure from that, which I thought they handled very well. Obviously they weren't happy with it, But we put that in perspective as a business and as a company. And he said the same. We got talking about the whole Holden thing. And, because I said to him, it's a bit like Holden, I suppose, sort of GM just left you in the lurch, closed all your dealerships down. You must be dirty about it, and, not a nice way to be treated. And he said, but you know what, Russ? He said, at the end of the day, we were good for each other. We made a lot of money out of Holden. And that set us up in business, because that was the good times, the good days. Everyone was buying cars, went on Sunday, sell on Monday sort of thing, and we made a lot of money as a business, So, yeah, it could have been handled better. It was a shame it happened. But you know what? We made a lot of money out of them and they made a lot of money out of us. So everyone's a winner. Yep. So you know what? We walked away, shook hands. Yeah, like I said, could have been handled better. And I think that's how you got to treat, I think in any sport, and this is just not segmenting motorsport, any sport, you got to be careful how you treat your sponsors because it's a small roundabout.
Especially on the way out.
On the way out.
Because you never know when you need them to come back.
To be honest, treat them on the way out better than you treated them when they were on the way in.
What's the way I treated you when you left our team?
Yeah. I'm back here.
Yeah, it was good on you, mate. Go for it.
Yeah. You got, mate. You got to have a bit of.
Yeah,
I just wanted to bring
one.
that up because it was an interesting conversation, and I think anyone that's involved in sport or whatever, whether it be a team sponsor, a company sponsor, a sponsor for your football team or whatever. Treat your sponsors on the way out as good as you did on the way in.
I got you,
because
that's a good
short
one,
roundabout. Maybe that's a
live message.
The live message.
Is it Russell's live message?
Oh, can I have that one?
You can, mate.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. So, that's it for us.
So I don't get my live message. It's Russell's live.
Do you want it?
I got it.
Oh, you got one?
I got one.
Go on, go.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the same without that.
Okay. I don't mind equal equipment, but I don't like equipment that equals drivers.
Ah, okay. Right. Gotcha. Yeah, okay.
All right.
And that little gizmo there
Combined with auto blip and automated shifting,
equals the drivers.
it turns a driver from a driver, someone driving the car, to someone that guides the car. Keep them driving the cars.
That's very good. I'm glad you brought that one up.
Okay.
That's very timely.
Yeah.
And on that note, we're out. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, please, if you want us to keep coming at you.
Get those subscribers up.
Get up, subscribe to it. Hit the little bell thing up there. That way you get notifications. As soon as a new show drops, you'll get a notification on it and you can click straight on. So make sure you tick that tab as well. Subscribe to YouTube. Don't forget we got our Enforcer and the Dude Facebook page as well and Instagram page. Make sure you go there for regular updates and all the rest of it. So get on there, get on the bandwagon, keep us on the road, and we'll until next time, we'll see you soon.